What's up, everybody? It's been a minute since my last video, but finally we're starting to get a bit of information, some leaks on Pokemon Home, some of the changes some of the old mons are getting, and it seems like Home should be releasing in the very near future. And with over 100 Pokemon being added to the metagame soon, including some previous OU staples and a ton of powerful Hisuian Pokemon, the game it's going to be completely different. Completely different. That means, of course, that the ban list that we've been using the past few months won't necessarily be the ban list that we'll have when Home drops. Which, has basically already been confirmed by the OU tier leader Finchinator. But yeah, we're going to see some changes. Some of the Pokemon that have been banned from this generation, some of the Pokemon that have been banned from previous generations will probably get, another look in the OU metagame. So this video is basically going to go over all of these Pokemon that have been banned and whether or not I think they could return to OU, at least initially. So I guess let's just jump right into it with the first two Pokemon that were banned in Scarlet and Violet, Fluttermane and Houndstone. And with Fluttermane, I'm gonna be real, this thing is not coming back. I honestly don't even think they should waste their time giving it a couple days in the new metagame. This thing is like so obviously broken. This is like Fluttermane was one of the best Pokemon we've ever seen in OU. Like this thing, like the Ghost Fairy typing, borderline unresisted stab coverage, the fact that you hit like 607 speed with like booster energy, or like if you're in Sun, just outspeeds like the entire metagame and basically necessitated like really strong physical priority on every team. It's just way too fast. It's way too strong. It has setup too, so even stuff like Blissey, like you Blissey literally loses to like Subcall Mind Fluttermane like 1v1. This thing just like this thing was just too much. It was like Spectrier on crack. Like this thing was just absolutely insane. I love this Pokemon, but she is never coming back. There's nothing that was introduced in Home, or that is going to be introduced in Home rather, that's going to make this thing any more manageable. Like if it does come back one day, when Home drops right now, that's not the day. But Houndstone is potentially a little bit more interesting. Now with Houndstone, it really just comes down to one thing: is Last Respects legal or not? If Last Respects is not legal, then Houndstone will be legal, and if Last Respects is legal, then Houndstone won't be. Now, with Home, we're getting Basculegion, which I think everybody can agree is just better than Houndstone. It's faster, it's stronger, it has the option to go Swift Swim or adaptability. Like that thing is obviously going to be broken. But the only thing that makes things like potentially complicated is the existence of Basculin, which also gets Last Respects. Now, Basculin is weaker than Basculegion and Houndstone. It's not going to get stab on the Last Respects as well, which is a pretty big deal. I mean, yes, Last Respects gets crazy base power, but like a 50% difference in powers, like that's a huge deal. And you can't get stab on it without Terra. You also don't have access to a speed boosting like abilities, so you're going to be pretty reliant on Scarf if you want to like really clean teams. Which means you miss out on potentially running Band or something like the other ones could too. Does that mean that this thing is going to be balanced? It could still be broken. Last Respects is that good of a move, but that is something to potentially think about. If I had to guess though, I think regardless of whether or not Basculin is broken or not, I think they're going to ban Last Respects anyway. So the council got so much flack for banning Houndstone instead of the move when they did. Everybody cried about it, even though, spoiler alert, those people are not going to use Houndstone and either way. Houndstone's probably going to go straight to NU when Last Respects probably gets banned. But yeah, I think Last Respects will just get banned and Houndstone will be legal and that'll be the end of that. I don't think it's that complicated, but if something were to complicate it, it's going to be this little guy right here. Now, onto Iron Bundle. I'm a little conflicted on Iron Bundle. So, I think Iron Bundle is like, it's really stupid. It's very similar to Fluttermane in a lot of ways. Like, crazy speed with like, with what's it called, booster energy, making it even crazier. Basically having unresisted coverage, but with Freeze Dry and Hydro Pump. Having a defense that feels like it's way higher than it has any business being. But then I think about a couple of the things coming back, and I wonder if it like could potentially be a little bit more manageable. Like there's Volcanion, which yeah, it's like a kind of suspect check, but like the only thing you're gonna hit Volcanion with is neutral freeze dry. That's all you have, right? There's stuff like Hisui and Gudra that's coming in, and Hisui and Gudra takes hits from this all day, right? Like that thing has 150 SPDF, and it could take hits from Iron Bundle. But I think maybe even the biggest one might be Galarian Slowking, which AV Galarian Slowking is maybe the best pivot you're gonna get into Iron Bundle, because it can't even like really abuse it with like taunt encore stuff. Galarian Slowking is gonna two-shot this thing like with damn near any move because it has like 60 SPDF. Like AV Glowking with regen just feels like a pretty consistent answer into Bundle that you could bring in over and over. Now, is this gonna be enough? Like probably not, to be honest. But I think Iron Bundle, at the very least, should probably get a chance to be an OU. Like I think they should at least retest it. I'm not saying it won't just get banned again anyway, but I don't think it's like Flutter Mane level where it's like, yeah, don't even let this back. I don't think it should be preemptively banned. I think they should give it a shot. And with Palafin, I kind of feel the same way. Like, I'm not sure if the stuff coming back really changes things that much. I mean, I guess there's like Zapdos and stuff, but like, I feel like it probably deserves another chance. Especially because I guess like people run more like Sludge Bomb Pex, which is like good into like the bulk up taunt set, and like I don't know if maybe the metagame could like handle Palafin a little bit better than it did before. I think the problem with Palafin is still Terra. I think the fact that this thing could just have like the Terra Water wave crashes, that feels like Dracovish 2.0, or like the fact that it could like Terra Steel on like a Sludge Bomb Pex or like a Toxic Mon, even if it's not running like the taunt set. Like it feels like Terra kind of makes this a little bit like too much. It's weird though, because yeah, obviously it's a bad Uber, which doesn't matter that it's bad in Ubers, but it does feel like kind of like maybe this mod is going to be one of the classic OUBL Purgatory mons. But I mean, we'll see. I think they should at least, let's give it a shot. I don't think it hurts to give it a shot. I don't think it's as crazy as, like I said, something like Flutter Mane. Now Chi-Yu I think is that crazy. I love Chi-Yu. I don't think we need to bother with Chi-Yu. Like, guys, we know exactly what this thing is going to do. This thing's going to one-shot everything. There's nothing that is being introduced in Home that can take hits from this. Like, Chi-Yu, it still has effectively 197 special attack with Beads of Ruin. It's still way too powerful, Terra or not. I think even without Terra, this thing is way too powerful. Even the SPDF walls I was talking about, like Gudra and Slowking, well, Galarian Slowking obviously because it's a psychic type, but like even stuff like Gudra can't take, hits from this thing. Like this thing's gonna two-shot Gudra. Like Galarian, or not Galarian, Hisui and Gudra, with the 150 SPDF it has, is still getting 2-hit KO'd by Chi-Yu anyway. Like, this thing is just way too powerful. I don't think this thing could ever be legal. I don't see a world where this thing could ever be legal. It's too strong. Even stuff like there's like Rapid Strike Urshifu and stuff too, but like even that's just gonna get destroyed. It's just not, it can't take hits from this. I don't think there's really defensive counterplay to Chi-Yu. I don't think there'll ever be defensive counterplay to Chi-Yu. So I hate to say it, but I think maybe they should just preemptively ban this. If they don't and they give it a shot, it's gonna be gone instantly either way. So whatever. But Annihilate, looking at Annihilate, I think Annihilate is a little tricky. Like, yes, when Annihilate got banned, Hisui and Zoroark wasn't in the game. And yes, Hisui and Zoroark is a counter to the standard Annihilate set because it's immune to both the stabs. Sure. But you're essentially forced to run that specific mon, or it's going to do the exact same thing it did anyway. Like, it's still broken, especially with Terra. It's going to do the exact same thing it did anyway. So part of me is like, sure, you could give it a shot, but it's like, unless you're going to, like, force Hisui and Zorak on every team. Unless you're just like, I have to run Hisui and Zorak to not have Annihilate go crazy on my team, it's gonna feel the exact same. Like, I guess there's stuff like Enamorus and Tornadus, some like strong, like special Pokemon that could potentially like break through Annihilate. But like the problem with Annihilate is just gonna be, yeah, it'll just go Terra Water and they'll take the hit and they'll, you know, one shot these things with Rage Fist. So I don't know. This Mon, I hate this Mon. I don't think it. I guess maybe they'll give it a shot in OU, but I don't know. I think this thing is gonna meet the same fate eventually anyway, even though it does have a proper like answer now. Now, Chien-Pao, one of the only two Pokemon that actually got suspected this generation with Walking Wake. I think Chien-Pao, more so than any of the Pokemon that we talked about so far, definitely deserves another chance. It's tough because, like, yeah, I think with Terra and a choice band, you look at Chien-Pao and you say defensive counterplay, it's limited. This thing obviously can get really powerful with Terra. Like this Terra, it feels like one of many Pokemon that's like, yeah, if Terra didn't exist, maybe this would be more acceptable. But with Terra, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of borderline, it's fringy, but there are some things coming back that could maybe help. Like Magearna's a good check. Granted, Magearna might not be in the game that long. Zamazenta, if they decide to test either of the Zamazenta forms, those could be decent answers. Urshifu Rapid Strike is like a pretty okay answer for more offensive teams, especially if it's like Boots Chan, they could come in a couple times. If it's like Bandit, it's a little bit, you know, more suspect. But, you know, this Pokemon, I think it at least deserves a chance. I think it absolutely deserves to prove that it's broken still. I'm not saying that's not going to happen. It might get banned anyway, right? But I think more so than any Pokemon we've talked about so far, this Pokemon definitely deserves a chance. And I'd be very surprised if they preemptively ban this. Like, I don't think they're going to, like, pre-ban Chien-Pao. Now, Espatra, I mean, speaking of Pokemon where Terra pushes it over the edge, that is everything with Espatra. Espatra is, you know, if Terra wasn't in the game, she'd be fine. But it is in the game, and as long as it's in the game, I kind of look at Espatra as a Pokemon that I just don't know. I'm not sure what counterplay exists for the speed boost, calm mind, store power nonsense that Espatra does, as long as it has the option to change its type and, you know, hit the psychic checks. But, you know, Shed-Tail was in the game when Espatra was, you know, in the game, and Espatra definitely abused Shed-Tail. Shed-Tail's gone now, you know, and, you know, there's probably going to be some other really crazy Pokemon. Like, I wouldn't, like, I think it's fair to maybe say Espatra should at least, you know, get a chance, like I said with Chien-Pao, to prove that it's broken. The difference between the two of them for me is that I'm more confident in feeling that Espatra is going to prove it for sure. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see with Espatra. But I don't want to just talk about, you know, the Pokemon that have been banned in Scarlet and Violet, because there's some Pokemon that have traditionally been Ubers, who have been banned from OU in the past, who are coming in from home. And people are going to want to know, like, should these Pokemon come back or not? And, like, I know a lot of Pokemon that have been banned in the past, especially if they've been banned multiple times, like, there's a bit of a stigma, like, hey, you know, been there, done that, we know what you do, we know you're broken, we don't want you back. But, you know, we saw it with stuff like, you know, Aegis / Last Gen. Yes, it got nerfed, but, you know, that got to stick around. Blaziken had gotten banned from generations 5, 6, and 7, and that was super fine in Gen 8. Stuff like, you know, Greninja and Cinderace, yes, there were nerfs, but, you know, they ended up being fine in future generations. Stuff like Hoopa Unbound was banned in Gen 6, and in Gen 7 it was fine. Like, there's been examples of Pokemon that, you know, have been banned that were able to come back and be, you know, healthy. I don't think Urshifu was going to be one of them, though. Urshifu, this mod is so disgusting. And they did nerf Wicked Blow from 80 BP to 75 BP. It was 80 last gen. 5 BP nerf is not a really big deal. It's like a 6.6% damage nerf or whatever on Wicked Blow. It's not nothing. Like, that could matter in some situations, but it's not a really big deal. The thing with Urshifu is they gave it Swords Dance. And, yeah, I think Urshifu will trade the 5 PP on Wicked Blow for Swords Dance. Yeah, I don't know why they gave this thing SD. Like, this thing was broken enough. Like, this thing... Yeah, this thing is not going to be in OU. You can forget about that. You can forget about that. Like, don't even bother with this one. You can forget about this one. Even Waterfu is going to be really, really crazy with SD as one of its options now. I don't think Waterfu will get banned or anything. I mean, I guess maybe it could, but I don't think it'll get banned or anything. But Single Strike, yeah. I don't know about Single Strike. But we'll see. Now, Magearna is a Pokemon that we had a Generation 7 where it was legal the entire gen, even though some people would argue maybe it shouldn't have been. And then we had Gen 8 where it wasn't legal for very long before people realized that it's kind of crazy, especially because they gave it stored power. I don't know why they had to give Magearna stored power. Like, I don't know why. And I was looking through the move list changes, and this thing really, like, it lost Heal Bell, but, like, it didn't really lose much of value. And it got spikes, which is really cool. It got some new physical moves like Ice Spinner and stuff for the Shift Gear set that could be cool. Like, I mean, it's mostly the same, if not slightly better. And I still think it's too much. I was coping hard because I love Magearna, and I was like trying to think of a reason, like, oh, maybe it could be legal if this, that, or the other. I'm gonna be real. I don't think this is gonna be in the tier very long. I think it's tough, but I don't see a world where Magearna could stay, especially with the way the metagame is now. The metagame's not super equipped for like really strong fairies. There's not a lot of good fairy checks in the game period right now. Like, Magearna, if anything, would prey on this metagame even more than it did on Gen 8. And, yeah, I just think it'll probably go. Should they preemptively ban it? Probably not. They should probably, doesn't hurt to let Magearna rock for a little bit. But long-term, do I think it'll be, like, an OU, like, mainstay? Like, long-term? No, probably not. It'll probably get banned. Now, Landorus, speaking of repeat, offenders, like Blaziken in the past that have been banned for several generations, Landorus, he's got a little streak of his own going. Landorus he's going on a couple gens now of being banned. But unlike stuff like Magearna and Urshifu, Landorus did actually lose some important things. It lost Defog and Knockoff, which are like, good utility moves that Landorus had. It lost Gravity. That's important. Like, Gravity is important because stuff like Corviknight now kind of sits on you. It lost Sludge Wave. I guess that doesn't really matter though because it gets Sludge Bomb, so it's like 5 EP difference, not that big a deal. Lost Toxic. That could matter in some situations. Superpower actually is a nerf. Like, that matters. The fact that it lost Superpower, because that's how it was able to like kind of break through stuff like Chansey Blissey. Now you don't have that anymore. Like, Lando actually like took some hits. Like, it actually took like real nerfs. But you could say Landorus got Nasty Plot, and that's insane. Nasty Plot alone might make up for all of the nerfs that it got. Because I mean, Nasty Plot Lando will be crazy. And +2, +4, +6, sheer force boosted Earth powers from Lando it's very likely Landorus will still be too much, but I think Landorus, enough has changed about Landorus that I think you have to at least like consider the possibility of it. Because like I said, with stuff like the Corviknight and the Blissey matchups, like, there are some Pokemon that it just isn't going to be able to handle as well as it did in the past. Like, and it lost utility. Like, Lando is probably, I don't know if Nasty Plot's worth more than all of that. It's hard to say. But I think Lando, of the Pokemon that have been like banned from OU in the past that we've talked about so far, of these three, Lando to me seems like the one that has the best chance of potentially staying this gen. But honestly, Lando Eye is gonna do Lando Eye things. Oh, actually, Lando Eye also lost Rock Polish. I forgot about that. It also lost Rock Polish. That's so those like setup sets, like yeah, I mean that also matters. That also matters, right? It does matter. Yeah. I guess it'll be interesting to see what happens with Lando. I think he should get a shot though. I think he should get a shot. Now, um, going on to Zamazenta, this is a Pokemon that never was like really an OU, but it was tested for OU last gen, and it's been nerfed pretty significantly as Dauntless Shield now only procs one time per battle. So it was already considered something that was worth testing for OU last gen, and it got a significant nerf. And I'm not saying it'll be balanced, the crown form or the other form, but I mean, why wouldn't we look into it? Right? Like I don't see why we wouldn't test it. We tested it last gen and it was better. So yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot to say about Zamazenta. I don't really have strong opinions on whether or not it'd be legal because it's not a Pokemon I've really used. Because it's never really been a thing in OU. But I do think it should be tested. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't be tested. I know Natdex is like another metagame, so it's not really the same thing, but I know that has been in Natdex and it's been fine. So maybe it could be fine here too. Maybe it won't be, but we should find that out. Spectrier though, this thing won't be fine. This thing won't be fine. This is a Pokemon, like how I talked about with Landorus, how it got nasty but it lost a lot. This is a Pokemon that only gets better. This is a Pokemon that has only gotten better. The only problem with Spectrier last gen was, bulky dark types or like normals or whatever, right? Like if like the ghost checks they could be annoying for it because, it didn't really have coverage. Well, they gave it coverage. They said, here's Draining Kiss. That's, really nice to hit those dark types. And then you remember, hey, we're in Generation 9. Everything has coverage with Terra. And Spectrier, without question, is going to be one of the biggest Terra abusers in the game. This thing was already a complete menace in Generation 8, and it's going to be even crazier this gen. There's no way this thing's going to be balanced. There's no way this thing's going to be balanced. It's going to join its crazy Ghost Sweeper brethren, Fluttermane, and Ubers real quickly if they decide not to ban it off the rip. So, yeah, I mean, Spectrier is not staying. That thing's not staying. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is a Pokemon that actually has never been banned from OU. But a Pokemon that I think a lot of people think could be banned from OU this generation, and that is Regieleki. Which, even more so than Spectrier, there might not be a single Pokemon in the entire game that benefits more from the introduction of terrestrialization than Regieleki. This thing, we all know what it does, what it did. It has transistor boosted electric stab, and it hits real hard. But the problem with it last gen was, everybody had an electric check on their team, whether it be a Volt Absorber or, a ground type most commonly, or, a fat grass, a fat dragon, your Ferrothorns, your Landuruses, your Garchomps, your whatevers, right? And, and when they had those Pokemon, Regieleki, it was useless. It felt useless. Like the only coverage it got, it was using like, Rapid Spin and Swift. Like it couldn't do anything. And that's what really held Regieleki back, even though it has 200 speed and pretty powerful electric moves. But now with the introduction of Terra, Terra Ice name, being the one that you're going to use really, there's, that counterplay is kind of gone. Like all those fat grasses, all those fat grounds, all those fat dragons, they're not trying to take these Terra Blast Ice from Regieleki. And then this thing, even with a modest nature, it's going to outspeed the entire tier unboosted. Like the unboosted Um, if you don't have like a Scarf, Dragapult, or something unreasonably fast, you're not catching this thing. So it makes sense that everybody looks at this and says, yeah, this is going to be broken. There's no way this thing could be an OU. Has no counterplay. And I, I don't know if I can say that's wrong. Like, I mean, you're limited to really specific stuff like, what, like Magnezone and like Rotom Heat, but like those aren't Pokemon with reliable recovery. They can't come into you forever. I guess there's stuff like, I guess we could talk about Hisui and Gudra again, since because Terra Blast Ice is only neutral, so, and that thing's fat, so like I guess it could come in a couple times, but like it's really limited. It's really limited, the defensive counterplay, and offensively, forget about it. It's too fast. It's just this thing getting it solved its biggest problem with Terra. So as long as Terra's legal, Regieleki, it's gonna be tough. Should they give it a chance? Obviously, they should give it a chance. It's never been Ubers before. Why wouldn't they give it a chance? It should, we should figure out if it's actually broken. But I'm not gonna lie. On paper, it looks broken. It looks broken. I can't lie. But yeah, I guess that's all the Pokemon I wanted to talk about. I'm really excited for the home metagame. I think the game's been a bit stale recently, and there's over 100 Pokemon coming back, and not just the Pokemon that we talked about today. Stuff like Landorus T, Torn T, Heatran, Zapdos, all the Hisuian Pokemon, and a bunch of those look really crazy, like Enamorus and Basket Legion and Cleaver, and there's a lot of really cool Pokemon who are going to be introduced to the game, and we're going to be playing a brand new game, and that's why I think I hope the council is a bit bit loose, a bit lenient with the bans this time around, and they don't pre-ban all of these Pokemon before we even get to see them in this new version of Scarlet and Violet. Like, if I was on the council personally, only mons I think I'd like just not bother with are like Spectrier, Urshifu Single Strike, and like maybe like Fluttermane and Chi-Yu. I'd probably let like everything else rock. Honestly, I'd let like everything else rock. Just give it a shot. But yeah, that's gonna conclude this video. Like this video if you like this. Subscribe to the channel because I'm gonna be getting back into the Pokemon content with the release of Home. I got some more videos coming up. Really excited for all of that. And I'll see all of y'all next time.